Cooking for Health brings you nutritional information and tips, as well as cooking demonstrations and healthy recipes by local chefs. Cooking for Health is brought to you by First Choice Community Healthcare, Agricultura Network, and La Cosecha. Special thanks to Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Mexico for funding this project. Thank you for joining us, and check out the rest of our videos to see healthy recipes to share with family and friends.
I'm Dr. Jesse Barnes. I'm one of the family medicine doctors here at First Choice South Valley, and welcome to this month's Cooking for Health online videos. We are looking forward to getting to see people back in the classroom soon for in-person classes, but for now we are continuing to put up videos every month with these educational topic discussions and recipes from our incredible chefs. The topic this month is sugar substitutions, and this is especially important to people with diabetes or at risk of getting diabetes and who are trying to limit the amount of sugar that they're taking in their diet. We know that things like regular soda, as well as a lot of processed desserts, cakes and muffins and pastries and stuff like that have enormous amounts of sugar and are one of the main reasons that we have an epidemic of diabetes in this country. And so finding ways to eat food and enjoy eating food and have that sweet taste without getting as much sugar can be an important part of controlling problems like diabetes and preventing them. There are a variety of ways that you can substitute for sugar. And so the first category we have are what are called artificial sweeteners. And so these are things like aspartame, which is the generic name of equal, saccharin, which is sweet and low, sucralose, which is Splenda, as well as something called sugar alcohols, and these are chemicals like mannitol, sorbitol, and xylitol. They all end in TOL, or tol. And these are sort of laboratory-made things that taste really sweet on the tongue but don't have any actual sugar or actual calories in the food. And so, as you may have recognized from some of those first brand names, when you see those packets of fake sugar to add to coffee and tea, that comes from this category. And if you look at a food or a drink and it says sugar-free, then very likely you can look on the back and find one of these ingredients, because that's how they're adding that sweet taste, that sweet flavor to food without putting any actual sugar in it. There's an obvious benefit to these in that they don't have any sugar in them, and so they don't directly affect your sugar, but there are a couple of problems. There are a lot of studies coming out these days that show that in the long run they don't really help people control problems like diabetes, and we think that may be because they are tricking our brain into forgetting that when something tastes sweet that we need to make insulin to absorb the sugar that's in that food. So in the long run our bodies get less good at handling real sugar when we have too much of these artificial sweeteners. We think they can be a useful bridge to people who are really used to drinking a lot of soda or eating a lot of sweets to try and sort of work their way off of that habit, but that's probably not a good long-term solution to use artificial sweeteners in large amounts and on a very regular basis. The sugar alcohols as well, like the mannitol, the sorbitol, the xylitol, often cause diarrhea, and so if you're eating a sugar-free food and it's causing some upset stomach, it's probably because it contains one of those ingredients. Additionally, there are a couple of plant-based sweeteners, and stevia products has been a very popular one in the last 5 or 10 years. Monk fruit is another plant-based sweetener. And again, these are naturally occurring foods. They come from actual plants. They weren't made in a lab. And they do the same thing as the artificial sweeteners in that they taste sweet without having any actual sugar and affecting our sugar levels directly. They may cause some similar issues in terms of tricking our bodies into forgetting that the taste of sweet comes along with an actual amount of sugar, and so they may again not be a great long-term solution, but they are a more naturally occurring alternative to using large amounts of sugar and to using the artificial sweeteners. And then there are other sweeteners that are not necessarily sugar, and so that's things like honey and agave nectar and a variety of other sort of what people call or advertise as more natural sweeteners. Now those do have sugar in them, and if you have diabetes or worried about getting diabetes, they will affect your sugar levels directly. In many cases, their sugar is not quite as concentrated as some of the artificial sugars, and it's definitely not as concentrated as things like high fructose corn syrup. And so at times, if these are part of a balanced and healthy diet, they can be used within reason without causing huge problems in terms of sugar control. But in the big picture, what we really recommend is focusing not so much on using some of the artificial sweeteners and the other sweeteners, but continuing to eat a balanced diet to make sure you're getting enough fruits and vegetables and whole grains and healthy proteins, to focus on a plant-based diet, especially in terms of those proteins, and to try and work your way out of the habit of needing food to taste extremely sweet and to drinking lots of sodas and sweetened beverages and eating lots of sweets, but to make sweets more of a special occasion kind of thing. So in summary, there are a variety of artificial sweeteners, naturally occurring sweeteners, and alternatives to sweeten your food. And some of the recipes we're going to work on, or we're going to show this month, are excellent ways of introducing some of those substitutes where we're accustomed to using sugar. But again, we want this to be part of a balanced diet, and we want people to remember that there's really no substitution for eating that healthy, balanced diet, even when you're using sugar substitutes. Thanks again for watching the video this month. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see when future videos are posted. And we hope you enjoy the recipes that our chefs will demonstrate in the videos this month.